Hey guys, welcome to 6 Minutes for Wednesday, September 21st. I'm Jason Fulmore, SE Wrestle, and today we wrap up our final preview of the Elite 8 duels, which happens this weekend, Saturday and Sunday in Atlanta. Today is some of the top matchups, and being on the email thread with Cliff Fretwell and the Compound Gang, as well as David Bray from Flow Wrestling. David has identified 50 ranked matchups happening on day one alone in pool action. Yeah, it's going to be fantastic. I'll try to put a link in to that article. But Lucas and I got together to talk a little bit about some of the top-ranked matches, actually 6 top-ranked matches, and we did so a couple of days ago. And as a result, we have lost one of those top-ranked matchups, Ben Devino versus Jax Forrest, which I think anytime you can talk about a who's number one winner versus a who's number one winner going at it, that's probably going to be one of your first conversations. But just ignore that conversation because it will not happen this weekend, as Devino will not be in Atlanta. But the other 5 matches all have a shot. Braden Thompson's up in weight, so I don't know if we will get to see him versus Lorenzo Norman, but the other matches look like they'll happen. Looking ahead to the 50 matches that will happen on day one, 126 and 195 each have 10 ranked matchups. 10 ranked matchups at both 126 and 195. I don't think there's a weight class actually that doesn't have ranked wrestler versus a ranked wrestler on day one, and that's just day one. Day two will bring even more of those matchups as you know the field kind of separates into a championship bracket and then a smaller consolation bracket. So it should be fantastic. If you missed the last 2 days, Lucas and I talked about the ones to watch, which was yesterday. Wrestlers that are a little under the radar that could have a great weekend. And then on Monday, we talked about ranking the teams from 1 to 12 or 12 to 1 and who we kind of expect to see make a run for the Elite 8 Duels title. Last thing before I go on to my conversation with Lucas, I just want to cue you to the fact that tomorrow I have a conversation with Ian Fritz of Topsail, North Carolina. Ian is a freshman state placer in the state of North Carolina, but also a YouTuber in the wrestling world, and has been doing a ton of different things. I had a great conversation with him, and I'll be sharing that tomorrow as the Thursday edition of 6 Minutes. But today, these are some of the top matchups that you might see this weekend in Atlanta. I hope you enjoy my conversation with Lucas Da Silva.
Yeah.
All right. Here with Fat and Scrappy's Lucas Da Silva, the announcer for this weekend's Elite 8.
I'm head of the commentary team this year. I'm super excited. Cliff gave me the nod. He's like, "Hey man, he called me the GOAT, which kind of made my head grow even bigger than it already does. So I'm super excited. I'm bringing one of my guys down from BPC. He's also going to be on a microphone with me. Shout out Justin Grant. I'm super excited. It's going to be a lot of fun this weekend.
Yeah, it is. And you know what? We're talking the matches that Cliff has highlighted as some of the top matchups for this coming weekend. And we're going to actually talk about 6 matches. And depending on the schedule and what mat you get assigned and all those sorts of things, you could be calling one or more of these matches.
Clear. Let me make something clear. Because last year I had to sit behind Emery Taylor and a couple other people who were picking duels they wanted to get. I'm commentating most of these. I'll be damned if I miss out on another superstar matchup because someone else won't. Nah, fam.
All right, so we are hot right out of the gate with the matchups. The first matchup that they highlighted as we're gearing up for this weekend's Elite 8 was two wrestlers who won Who's Number One, 2 weeks ago? And that is Jax Forrest versus Ben Devino. Forrest beat Nate Gisaruga, I think 8-7 in a great match. Ben Devino beat Mark Anthony McGowan 6-3.
Knocked off McGowan.
Right. And I think Devino was 26 and Forrest was 120. Is that right?
I do. You're sure?
I think that's right.
I think you're right.
So that's our first matchup right out of the gate. And boy, it's a solid one.
That's one where I wish that they'd let me drop down from the rafters, the old school microphone, and let me really ham it up. This is not to diss any other matchup, because there's another matchup that I'm really excited for, but this is your main event of the evening to me. Two number one ranked wrestlers in the country at the same weight class on two championship viable teams. That's the other thing. If you tell me Spartan and Dynasty wrestle in the final, I won't call you crazy. That is very believable. So for me, main event of the evening, at least to me, outside looking in, two number one ranked kids in the country. Come on. You can't ask for anything more.
Yeah. And again, I mean, if you're within, I don't know, an hour of Atlanta, I mean, that's worth the price of admission itself.
Oh, no, more than that. If you're within 3 hours, like, come on, this is people drive an hour for less important things. People drive an hour to go to the varsity. Come on now. Like, what are we doing here?
Right.
No, if you're within a handful of hours, and like I said, if you don't got a wedding, a birth, a funeral, a graduation, which I know you don't because school just started, if you don't got something important of that nature, you know where you should be. You should be in the 404.
All right. So are you going to predict a winner, or are we just going to talk about who the matchups?
If you want me to give you a winner, I could throw out my guesses. Jax Forrest has been wrestling all world recently. So
yes,
I would say, then again, Ben Devino just cradled up and almost pinned Mark Anthony McGowan. So hell, I like Jax Forrest a lot.
I'm not going to make you pick. You're going to call the match. I'm not going to make you pick.
Yeah, I want to call that one. Hell, let me get on the microphone for that. And I kind of want it to work out where we get to see it twice, where maybe they meet up in the pools and then they are on the opposite side of the bracket play and I want to see that match as many times as possible.
There's no way in the world Spartan and Dynasty should be in the same pool.
Do you know how they draw the pools?
No.
If they do it the same way they did last year, they put poker chips in a hat and the coaches reached in and that was the pool you're in.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I kind of want that to happen again. Cliff, if you're listening to me, Cliffy boy, my homie, if you're listening to me, do the same thing because I kind of want that to happen.
All right, let's move to matchup number 2, and that is Bo Bassett versus a Southeast Hammer and Fargo All-American now, and certainly jumping by leaps and bounds nationally on the radar, and that is Cam Stinson of North Carolina. But
another Spartan versus Dynasty matchup here. Another one. Both these dudes are hammers. Bo Bassett, a little bit, I would argue, more well-known. He's been on the scene a little bit more at that high end. And now you look at Stinson, like you just said, leaps and bounds. It seems every weekend he's added another piece to his game. He's added another nuance to his offense. He's always improving. So I'm super excited to see how does he deal with Bo Bassett's kind of forward-pressing, attacking style for 6 minutes? I'm fascinated by that because their styles are so, not to say different in a bad way, but they're just so counteractive. I'm very intrigued.
Yeah, no, I think it's going to be a fantastic match. I think it'll be, I think a lot of people who aren't from the Southeast might go, well, I mean, that's Bo. And I'm saying you might pump the brakes a little bit because Cam Stinson can wrestle with anyone. And And don't be surprised if you've got a super close match and somebody's going, who is this? Well, you'll know because I mean, and don't get me wrong, maybe Bo will take care of it, but I think it's a really, really good match. So it's gonna be fun.
And I couldn't agree more. Like that's a matchup for me where, hey, you want to talk about a kid that could really put his name on the national radar with one close match or one victory? There you go.
Yeah.
Boba Fett is one of the bigger names in high school wrestling right now.
Yeah.
When it comes to just like being known across the country.
All right. Our third matchup that Cliff has highlighted is Lorenzo Norman and Braden Thompson. I think both are seniors. Thompson,
yes, they are.
Thompson won the Who's Number One on criteria over Zach Ryder. Both are, I think one's going to Stanford, one's going to Oklahoma State. Both took second at Powerade last year. Different weights, obviously, since they both took second. But on paper, I think this is what, 170? Yeah, I think it's 170. This is going to be
fantastic. This is 170. Braden Thompson will be a Cowboy. Norman will be a Cardinal of Stanford.
Yeah, and it's a fantastic matchup. I don't know that they've met before.
I haven't seen it. Like when we looked at these 6 matchups, I tried to deep dive and see if I could find any previous encounters. From what I've seen, they have not encountered each other before.
Yeah, and that actually,
which is always
even
fun.
More interesting.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's different when you've wrestled I mean, listen, everybody that's going to be listening to this, when you wrestle a guy, even if he's a stud, but you've wrestled him 2-3 times. This kind of happened with me and Raiden Wilder, where by that 3rd, 4th time we wrestled, we had seen each other so much that we already kind of knew what the other one was looking for, and it became a game of cat and mouse. When you don't know each other, you just throw dog crap at a wall and see what sticks, and you just get after it in the best way. So that's what makes me excited is...
All right.
Like that for me is the most. That's the nuance for me is the fact that they've never met before.
So our 4th matchup features, I think, our latest world champion, and that is Joel Adams, who was a Greco world champ. I do
believe you're correct.
This past year, there are other champs in the building. There, Bo Bassett was a world champ once upon a time. Dominic Monaretto was a world champion as well. But I think the latest one was Joel Adams, who won it in Greco. And fascinating enough, he gets Pearson Manville in a rematch of the World Team Trials in Greco. Now, this is obviously not Greco, so it'll be really interesting to see them wrestle
Greco.
I'm sorry?
I don't want them to wrestle Greco. I don't care about the duels. Make that a Greco match. I don't care. That was up to me.
I want to see how I want to see them compete in folk style, so I can see what it looks like at the next level.
It's great. Love it. If these two do not match up in the bracket for whatever reason, that marquee matchup, they better be standing up here. They better be here with it, or I'm going to be pissed. That's just me.
2 fantastic wrestlers. It'll be interesting to see those 2 encounter once again and themselves or each other once again.
That will be very fun to watch. I agree.
All right, our 5th match that they have highlighted is Georgia's own Drew Gorman versus Jax Forrest, who was from North Carolina, now up in Pennsylvania. And according to the notes I got,
quick sidebar. He's from North Carolina.
Uh-huh.
I didn't know it. Fair enough.
Yep.
I didn't know it. Shout out Red Hook. Shout out Carolina Takedown Talk. You love him. I hope he's in the building.
Yeah, I don't know that that's going to happen this weekend. I already talked to him. But,
my God.
But evidently, Drew and Jax are 2-2. So
yes,
this is
and I verified this because after you texted me, I went and looked it up. This is verifiable. They're 2-2.
Now, have they wrestled in folk style?
I do believe so. And when I looked it up, I think Forrest took the last win of their matchups.
Okay.
They've all been close. All of them been close, but just Forrest took the last one.
All right. It's going to be a great match. That's going to be a fun one to watch. And our last match that is being highlighted by Cliff and the Elite Eight duels is Aiden Sinclair and Gabe Arnold. Sinclair, I think, out of Wisconsin. Is that correct? Do you know?
Yes, I do believe you are correct. Yes, and Gabe Arnold out of
Georgia, Iowa,
out of Georgia. Listen, I'm going to continue to say this. You're from where you emerge, not where you go to school. It is from Georgia. Period.
All right.
Shout out Phil Arnold. Shout out Phil. We love Phil. But that match for me, actually, stylistically, that match for me is the most fun. Their styles are so similar that match has the capability of being 25-24. So like that match can really just be a shootout.
I think it'd be really good if I could get a hold of Matty Singleton and have him give me some color commentary on it, because I think he wrestled both of them last year. Now, he's wrestled Gabe, obviously, in practice, not necessarily in a match.
1,000 times.
Right. But, it would be really interesting because, I don't know that they've ever crossed paths before. So it'd be really interesting to see how it's going to play out.
I need to get Matt on my podcast. I think it'd be fun with Matty to have me and him commentate over our two matches that we wrestled. I think that'd be fun. Just for the what and a giggle. Just I think
what and a giggle, right? So those are
I can't say it.
Those are 6 of the top matchups, but look, they're going to be great matchups all the way through. I mean, these are just 6 that Cliff has decided to highlight leading up to the event. But I think maybe the question for him is, how did he come up with these 6? Because I can come up with a ton more that I think are going to be fantastic as well.
Like off the top of my head, there's like 3 or 4 that I'm like, really? Like, there's going to be a lot of great matchups. I mean, Bizalkis and Nasir Bailey.
Well, I don't know that Nasir's
like we're
there.
not even gonna...
Nasir.
Oh, I just saw that.
Yep.
Yeah. Never mind. Fair play. Well, that sinks my battleship. All right, whatever. Carry on.
Yep. So I wish he was going to be here, but I don't think he is. And honestly, from what I heard from the Who's Number One, if Nasir was going to be here, I'm wondering if Ryder Block wouldn't have called somebody and said, "Hey, I want to be on one of these teams so I can get another shot at him." So, because
you're probably not wrong. That would have been one of those, hey, I don't care what team it is. I'm on a roster. I'll be there in Atlanta. Figure it out for me. Click, and then we just see him show up.
All right. So if you didn't catch any of our other...
For the love of God, just for the sake of convenience, I'm going to say this now. Can somebody please jump on Arsenal and Combat Athletics roster? Combat Athletics needs a 220. Arsenal needs a 95. I'm pretty sure everything else is full. I don't want to see a damn forfeit this weekend. I don't want to see one. Somebody...
They were working on filling those 2 spots, so I will see if they...
I'm just saying. I don't want to see one. I want to see people scrap.
So if you missed,
of course,
either of our conversations before this one, go back to Monday or Tuesday. You can see the power rankings where Lucas and I break down the top 12 teams according to us. And then on Tuesday, we talked about the ones to watch, the kids that we think might be flying a little under the radar. So if you get an opportunity, go back and watch one of the videos previous to this one and gear up for a fantastic Elite Eight this coming weekend in Atlanta. Final words?
Gear up for one of the best tournaments in the country. 30% of the nation's ranked kids will be in attendance, and expect fireworks.
Yeah,
that's all I
agree. All right, man. I appreciate you taking time with me and talk through these top matches, and I will see you on Saturday.
Yeah, I'll be there this weekend, bro. I'll